So it's been a few days since Kamala Harris lost, and many of her supporters, they're still grieving, but they're grieving in very interesting ways. Now, for starters, the one person who does not seem to be grieving is Joe Biden. That man is happy as a lark. I swear, he can't wait to never see Kamala Harris ever again. But some Kamala Harris supporters, I didn't know there were so many, they are cutting off friends and family who don't agree with them. Some are breaking up with their boyfriends and their husbands because they voted for Donald Trump. Some are taking off work and class. This is a real headline. It's not a joke. It's not satire. It's also why other countries have been laughing at us for the last 4 years. Ivy League students offered crayons, Legos, and cookies with milk to cope with Trump's election win. Now, I read the article with a fine-tooth comb like I always do, and let me break it down for you. So Harvard and UPenn gave students the day off for some of their classes. Princeton postponed exams. Georgetown opened self-care suites where students had Legos, crayons, milk, and cookies to handle stressful times. Now, I was in college not too long ago, and young people, let me give you some tough love. So I looked up Harvard's tuition. Harvard's tuition is $57,261 a year. So $57,000 a year, and you're getting classes canceled because you can't handle the outcome of an election. And I know it's hard. I know it's hard to understand how Kamala Harris lost to a man who held a press conference in a garbage truck last week. Now, if these schools actually went back to teaching critical thinking, maybe the students would understand why Kamala Harris lost. There are about 100 reasons why she did not meet the moment. By giving kids the day off, you are coddling them and telling them when life hands them lemons, they can just crawl under the covers and cry. They don't have to show up. The real world is not that way. If you don't show up, you're gonna get left behind. I am so tired of these fancy Ivy League universities coddling their cry baby students. You guys sound so spoiled right now. All you have to do is sit around on a nice, lush campus with meals provided for you and go to class. Life isn't that hard for you right now. This story is another example of why I don't recommend college for everybody. Go to a trade school, learn something that's actually going to make your life better, where you're not going to rack up all this debt, a skill that's actually going to pay your bills for years to come. I went to NYU. I went to a fancy liberal school in Lower Manhattan, and let me just tell you, there's not so much education going on, there's a lot of indoctrination. There are kids who would not come to class because they went through a breakup. They're just feeling too emotional, they can't come to class. There were kids who tried to get teachers fired for calling them the wrong pronouns. For all these students who can't come to class, who are sitting around having milk and cookies because Kamala lost an election, let me just tell you, I understand life is hard sometimes. I understand you don't always get what you want. Sometimes life deals you a terrible hand, but you get up and you keep moving. Let's take a look at a real email from a professor. I am canceling class today to grieve the presidential election results. As a queer immigrant woman of color, I cannot in good conscience go on about my day like everything is all right. These are the people with whom you are entrusting your children. You are paying them thousands of dollars, and they can't show up on November 6th because the night before their candidate did not win an election. Now, y'all know by now, I welcome everyone on my page. It's come one, come all to the Halloween ball, but I have to call it like I see it. This is absurd. This is ridiculous. Kids, go to class. It's not that hard. Kamala Harris, she was a flawed candidate. Anybody with 2 eyes and 2 ears could see she wasn't going to win. Get up. Get up. Go to class. Stop. I can't wait for these kids to get out there into the real world. And I hope these universities stop all the indoctrination, the coddling. I would have given kids zeros if they did not show up for class, because life goes on. The world keeps spinning, baby. The last thing I'll say is this. Some of these students graduate with the most ridiculous majors, and then they complain that they can't find jobs in the real world. If you're majoring in the sociology of queer theater or Latinx literature from the 19th century, sorry, you can't cry over spilt milk. You know what we need more of in the future? Plumbers, carpenters, people who know how to change tires. If you graduate with 6 figures of debt and you majored in queer theater, which is kind of ironic, queer theater, just calling it like I see it, don't complain. Imagine you're an employer and someone comes in from Harvard University like, well, I studied Latinx literature from the 19th century. Get out. Get out. All right, my friends, I promise I'm done, but thank you for liking and following. Drop a comment. Tell me how you feel about these students being coddled at Ivy League universities. If you're a parent out there, are you rethinking where you're going to send your kid to school? I will see you on the next one. Bye.